Hello, and welcome to the Love Stella podcast. I am so happy, so grateful, so blessed to have Dr. Jazz on the podcast today. Dr. Jazz and I met, how many years ago was it? A really long time
A
ago.
really long time ago.
Dr. Jazz and I met at Redan Hairston, what is it? Internal and Pediatric Medicine? I forget the name. A million years ago. This is when I was when we were both in rotation.
Med school. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I'm very, very happy to have her on the podcast. And I will now give her an opportunity to introduce herself. Dr. Jazz.
All right. So like she said, I am Dr. Jazz. I am most importantly, a mother. A sister, auntie, daughter. I am an entrepreneur. I am the owner of my own private practice, Aligned Cognition Healthcare Services. I am also an author. I wear many hats, but like I said, the best hat that I wear right now is being a mother to my 7-year-old. She keeps everything going, and I make sure that she watches the whole process so that when she becomes of age, if she wants to do the same thing that I'm doing or do something similar, she's able to go ahead and do it in the right manner and not make the mistakes that I make. You know, as parents, we try to make sure our kids do better than we do.
Of course. It's so important for us as mothers to really make sure that they also have that balanced outlook. It's not just the highs. It's not just going on vacation. It's also that mommy has to work. There's a lot of hours that have to be put in to make your life possible. So thank you so much for sharing that. So can you tell me a little bit about your background, your family, where are you from, where did you grow up, and kind of what led you down the path to medicine?
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I was born in New York, but quickly we were moved down to Georgia, and I grew up in Georgia. Great, like we said, we met at a internal medicine pediatrician office on Redan Road, but I actually went to school down the street and graduated from Redan High School.
Oh, I did not know that.
Those were my old stomping grounds. So I knew exactly where I was when we were doing the rotations. But for me, the reason that I chose medicine is honestly, I don't think I ever had any other thought other than medicine. I started saying I was going to be a doctor when I was 5 years old. As I got older, it got more sophisticated into what type of doctor I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to help. It changed over the years. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to be an OBGYN, which is kind of funny because my daughter is now 5. I've never told her that. And she says the same thing now when she was 5. She
wow.
said, so it's kind of funny. My grandfather was probably the biggest supporter of me going to med school. He started buying me medical books when I was about 5 years old. Okay. And he continued that all the way until he died. And it quickly changed to me going from OBGYN saying, I don't know if I want to do that. Let me go to emergency medicine. Then I went back to OBGYN. Then I went to rotations in OBGYN and decided, nope, can't do that. And eventually I decided that I wanted to do or become one of the specialties that most people were afraid of. And there's nothing more fearful than psychiatry. I think it's probably the most feared specialty that's out there. And it's because it's the most misunderstood specialty. And so I spend the majority of my time trying to dismantle the stigma that is against mental illness and to let people know that it's okay to have a mental illness and to let people know it's okay to just have symptoms. Just because you have symptoms doesn't mean that you actually have a mental illness. So I spend a lot of time just trying to make sure that the community knows that there's someone out there who's behind them, and that these feelings and emotions and, when you get sad, when you get upset, when you get anxious, when you get pissed off, when you question whether or not you're hearing things, all those things are practically normal. We just have to learn how to cope with them. So
exactly.
That's my story.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing that. Two quick questions. Number one, how did your family react when you shared that you wanted to focus in on psychiatry? And number two, how have you, as a clinician, how have you had to kind of help your patients overcome that stigma that most of us as color have in terms of, oh, Black people don't need no therapist, Black people, we got Jesus. So what do you need to see anybody else and talk to your problems about? How are you able to kind of guide your patients of color down that line?
Well, I'm going to answer it as one question because it
Okay.
really is one question, because the family still has the same stigma. As a matter of fact, I can argue with my cousins all day long about if I am a doctor or not. They swear to God that they're like, you're not a doctor. What I try to explain to people is the same way you will take your high blood pressure medications or your diabetes medications, you need to take your psych medications. You have no clue why you're taking this high blood pressure medication. You can't tell me nothing about your blood pressure other than it's high. And the doctor told you to take this medication. When I asked you what the medication is, you have a hard time explaining it. So how is that any different from your mental health medications that you may have to take? And as far as our people are dealing with such generational trauma, it is hard to just like kind of break through to them to get them to know that, hey, there are things out there that have hurt our community. And it is okay for us to mourn that pain. And it's okay for us to allow that pain to be open, to be out there, to resonate with us, and for us to seek help. But I think the way that we get to that part where we feel comfortable with getting help is we have to start seeing more of us in mental health. We have to see more of us in the therapy role. We have to see more of us in the psychiatry role. We have to see more of us even in the tech roles in the mental health care hospitals. It's just we need to see our people. And so that's why I try to stress it as much as I can. I try to make sure that people know. I think they know as soon as they talk to me that I'm Black, whether they can see me or not. So, and I think that makes them a little bit more comfortable. But I try to explain to people that I am a medical doctor. I am a psychiatrist. I can help you medically, therapy-wise. I can also help you, and I can help you with all of the clinical aspects of any of the arrays of mental illness. For some reason, our people think that because I'm Black, I'm limited in what I can do. There is no limit to what I can do in the mental health field. What I need is just for you to say you're ready for this ride, because I'm gonna give it to you.
Exactly. And I think that readiness is also a very key piece of the puzzle, especially when I reflect on my own mental health journey. I obviously have been privy to the fact that mental health has no face, right? You can't look at somebody and say that they're depressed, that they're anxious, XYZ. You really don't know. But in terms of actually taking my mental health into my own hands, it kind of started when I got married, because I felt like the importance of mental health was basically slapped me in the face hard, very, very hard. I started therapy, and of course, when I first started therapy, I was very trepidatious. I was like, and nothing wrong with me. Why am I here? Don't try to brainwash me into thinking this, thinking that. And throughout more therapy, I felt like my walls slowly came down session by session, because my therapist was really able to make it clear that she was there to help me. And there's no judgments. And we all have things that we can do, tips, tricks, and tools that we can use to better our mental status. So it was very, very, definitely very, very useful for me.
What I like to tell people, and it's one of my favorite sayings, I actually have it on a shirt, is that the only difference between you and those you perceive as being quote unquote normal is coping skills. you learn better coping skills, therefore you get better. Everyone has been depressed. Everyone's been sad. Everyone has felt a little bit of anxiety. Everyone has questioned whether or not, is that person talking about me? Are they trying to get rid of me? Are they trying to get rid of me at work? So you've had a little paranoia.
Right.
There are those of us that have been through abuse. You have those that have children who have autism, who have learning disabilities. You have those who it can be anything, any mental illness. Like, I think some people think the only mental illnesses that are out there are schizophrenics, which is not a word. Schizophrenics,
right?
It's not a word. People who are depressed, people who are anxious, and people who are just crazy. And I hate that word crazy. Like, I tell my patients, there's no such thing as crazy, because the person sitting next to you has had similar symptoms to you. They just won't admit it. So that is my biggest thing. That's just what I push all the time. It's just coping skills. You got to get coping skills. You got to learn how to cope with what you have and what you're going through in your life and what God has put in front of you, because there was no mistake. It's just that we got to work with what we got.
Exactly. We really have to work with what we have. Thank you so much for that very comprehensive view on how to encapsulate mental health and mental illness itself. So tell me what drew you to start Aligned Cognition?
Well, Aligned Cognition came about as I wanted to get into the community more. It's hard to get into the community when you're working for a hospital setting, and that's what I was doing before I opened up my private practice. I was working in a hospital setting in their most acute unit. So I was dealing with the sickest patients. And I consider that to be a specialty of mine, because not a lot of people can actually handle the type of patients that I can handle. But I couldn't reach my people from there. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not doing what I feel God put me on this earth to do. And it wasn't until I let go of that hospital position and put my full focus into Aligned Cognition that I felt like I was on the path of making sure that my purpose was being driven in the direction it should be. So that's kind of where Aligned Cognition came in at.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that. It's really courageous for you to have really taken that step to start something that you felt like was more in alignment with what your path is and why you're on this earth. And I think that a lot of us, in terms of people of color, we are now just stepping in to that light. You understand what I'm saying? In terms of, okay, yeah, I know I can do this, but what should I be doing? Exactly. That's a very, very, very key difference. So how has it been going so far? How do you find entrepreneurship? What are some of your main challenges? What are you looking forward to? Like, tell me a little bit about how it is day to day.
I think that we need to push the legislators to educate our young people on how to start businesses, because I did not know how to start one, and I am making a lot of mistakes. Yes, I think that needs to be a course in starting in middle school on up to the high school, college. It needs to be a required course to, business administration, financial literacy. These are things that we are not taught as people of color, and we have to kind of learn it on our own. And we make many, 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 many mistakes. And I think that a lot of the mistakes that I've made could have been handled differently had I just known. And I'm still making mistakes every day. And I think you get to a point where you start to learn how to do certain things, but you start thinking in the back of your mind, like, maybe I should have taken a course or something before I did this. But you want your dream to kind of grow. You see it and you want to capture it. And so you make do with what you got. And that's what's most important, is making sure that you know what that goal is and stick to that goal, even when you do make the mistakes. For me right now, being that I am newish practice. It's about getting people to know that I'm out there.
Right.
Especially in Georgia. Like I am here, not just Atlanta, I am here, Georgia. I can see any patient in the whole state of Georgia because I am virtual, and I'm not virtual because of the pandemic. I think a lot of people confuse that.
Okay.
I was virtual before the pandemic. And the reason I was virtual before the pandemic is because we know don't nobody want to walk into a psychiatrist's office.
At all.
At
The
all.
anxiety of just driving there is just a mess. It's a lot. So you are completely correct. Yes.
It is. So I've been virtual since before the pandemic. And I think that's the part that people don't understand. They'll call and they're like, "Oh, are you still virtual?" I'm like, "Yes, this is a virtual practice." There are some patients that have to be seen in person. For those patients that are on controlled substances, or if I really feel like, hey, this person will benefit from an in-person session, then I will see those people in person.
Okay.
But for the majority of my practice, it is online. You don't have to leave your home. Apparently, you don't have to leave the toilet. Like it just gets real weird. People will see me from anywhere. I've been seen outside in the parks, backyards, swimming pools. It doesn't matter. And that's the point of it.
Okay.
Get your mental health wherever you can. I will meet you there. And
Yes.
then we will walk the walk together. And if I can't help you, I'm always willing to give recommendations that I would use, not just recommendations to another person that's down the street. I give recommendations that I always would use myself. And I always tell them, hey, tell them Dr. Kearse is referring you over, so that people know that this is a real recommendation. This is not just me just giving you some number of some person.
Right.
So,
yeah. That's so I think that it's so great for you to have a virtual practice like that, because like you said, the stress and anxiety going to see your therapist is difficult, and then you are able to also extend your reach. If there's somebody in Villa Rica, if there's somebody in Milledgeville, if there's somebody in Athens that really needs your services, they don't have to necessarily make that trip. So having virtual availability also allows you to, you were talking about your path, you're talking about your footprint. It allows you to really expand that so that everybody within the state of Georgia that needs your services is able to actually access them. Yes. So can you tell me about how the things that you've seen as a clinician has kind of informed you to author the book that you wrote, which is great. Congratulations so much for that.
Thank you. The book, really, I think people have a misconception of what the book actually is. Okay. I think most people think that the book is a book for people who already have been diagnosed with a mental illness, and that's not true. What the book really is a book to explain what mental illness is, what a mental condition is, and it can come from anywhere, anybody, any person. I talk about children, I talk about adults, I talk about vets, I talk about teenagers, I talk about successful people having depression, I talk about teenagers. It doesn't matter. I'm basically trying to explain that, like you said earlier, there is no face to mental illness. And so if you understand that there is no face, you understand that you may be one of those people, or maybe your friends, what you thought was, just your friend kind of being kind of standoffish may actually be something else. And maybe you can reach out and help your friend. For those caregivers, it is helpful to understand what's going on with your loved ones, especially something like our vets. Our vets go through a lot, to serve our country and then to come back to a country that doesn't take care of them physically or mentally. We need to know about that. We need to know how to recognize when our vets are having those struggles. And that's what the book is really about. It's about letting people as a whole know what mental illness is, not just for people who are mentally ill.
Okay. Yes, that distinction is something that's very often confused, very, very often confused. And so I'm sure that your book is going to be able to really fill that gap in information for all of us. You mentioned a lot of key groups in terms of the book helping to explain what mental illness is in those specific cohorts, do you talk a little bit about mothers specifically, especially those that just have had a baby, when it comes to postpartum, baby blues, and just the depression that some moms really feel right after birth? Do you focus on that as well?
So what I did this time with this particular book, and next time I will definitely focus on that. What I did this time is what people usually don't talk about. I talked about the women who can't have the babies. That is a larger group than we know. And so I focused in, there is a very large group. So I focused in on that particular cohort of people. And I called that section to my uterus, because basically the uterus, as we are told, is supposed to be the most important organ in a woman's body. It is supposed to hold and bore children, but not every woman can do that. Not every woman wants to do that. And not every woman has born children that she's wanted. So I basically talked to those women instead of talking to mothers at the time. There's other sections that talk to mothers a little bit, but for the most part, I talk to women who have issue with their uterus. The young girl who was sexually assaulted by her mother's boyfriend and ended up pregnant, and she's confused and upset and mad at her uterus for keeping the baby. Or the transgender who believes that they are male, and why do I have to get a period every month? Because I have a uterus. To the woman who has had multiple miscarriages, to the woman who has had multiple IVFs, to the woman who never wanted to have children, but everybody keeps asking her, when are you gonna have some babies? You know, you need to have some babies, you're getting older. So, so I spoke to a lot of those women, because to me, that's a special group, and you get a special type of depression, a special type of anxiety, a special type of just kind of confusion about, well, am I supposed to feel this way, or am I supposed to go ahead and just do this? No, you're not. If that's not what you want to do, you don't. So I really hope that, the women that are out there who struggle with that, I hope that message that I put out there resonates with them, because I'm in full support of them, because there's so many women out there. I mean, just won't believe. I mean, there's women out there who were sexually assaulted when they were younger, got an STD, didn't know, and now have such severe scarring that they can't have babies. They're trying, and they're wondering why they're infertile. And finally, in your 30s, you're told, well, it looks like you might have had an STD back in the day. You didn't get it treated. And there's nothing we can do. Your fallopian tubes are trash. So now I just have a dysfunctional organ in my body and didn't know. And so it's a very unique topic, and it really resonates with me as far as what those women have to go through.
Definitely. I understand completely. And there's another subset of that population in terms of women that may have had cancer and may have had to have a hysterectomy or total radical, what have you. And now what they thought, was their reproductive future is not anymore. So coming to terms with that is also very, very difficult. So I don't think I've ever read, and I read a lot, medical and non-medical books. I've never read a book that focused on that group of women. So I think that's very, very, I think that's great. I think that's great. I'm so ready to read this book myself and to amplify it within my audience, because it's really understanding what we're talking about is very, very important. I feel as though the conversation around mental health has amplified over the last couple of years, especially since the pandemic started. Everybody's talking about self-care, this and that. But in terms of really understanding what mental health is, I don't think that the depth is there. People just say buzzwords and they don't actually necessarily know what they're speaking about. I'm sure you've seen a lot of that. So this book definitely will go a long way in terms of filling those gaps. So,
and I'm also coming out with a coloring book to kind of follow up the book.
Okay.
And the coloring book is going to be for adults.
Okay.
And it's also going to do the same thing. It's going to explain mental health conditions as you are coloring, as you're doing the therapeutic exercise. And it's not just, hey, let's just color these pictures and let's move on to the next one and color it. Because the coloring itself is a therapeutic exercise that we recommend that most people do, even as adults. But what I am trying to do is give you both ends. So I give you what the mental condition is, or something related to the mental condition, and then you get your picture of that mental condition that you can color.
Okay.
So I think it's an interesting blend of almost like a book and a coloring book all together. And that should be out, hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be out June 15th.
June 15th. Okay, good. That's right around the corner.
That's right around the corner. Yeah. Gotta put the pressure on myself.
I understand. I'm actually in the process of writing a book myself, and it is
nice.
The headaches that I've been having it's not
normal.
Not you. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I think I just missed the text message from my layout coordinator right before we jumped on this call. So it's a lot. So I applaud you for, number one, the mental acumen to write the book. Obviously, you need to know what you're talking about to write a book. So I applaud you for that. And also just for the production itself, because writing a book is not an easy thing. So, and I'm looking forward to buying it, consuming it, and like I said, amplifying it with my audience. I'm really, really looking forward to that.
I appreciate that.
And so I guess now I would like to kind of dovetail into, I guess, some tips. Right now, it's June 1st as we're recording this. I, along with many other people, very looking forward to summer. I'm a sunshine baby. I just got back from Jamaica. I'm trying to go back as soon as I can because I just like being close to the sun. But on the radio yesterday, I was listening to the new mayor of Atlanta was talking about how homicides are up, violent crimes are up. This is summertime, people outside looking for whatever they can get. And that just makes you feel like, a little bit of me at least feel angst, anxiety. And while I am looking forward to being outside more, going on vacation, taking my children outside, I'm still kind of nervous about the activity and the increased crimes that summer brings, so can you give us any tips, any tools to kind of be able to navigate summer well and, end the year on a good note?
I think for the summer, most people need to realize that they need to be more aware because there are more people out. So you need to have a little bit more heightened awareness of your surroundings and a little more heightened awareness of the fact that your thoughts are getting out of control. So if you are in your own head and you're thinking and your thoughts are ruminating, it's probably best to stay in the house and wait until that kind of calms down, because you don't want to be caught off guard. A lot of the crimes that are happening and the homicides and, just the negativity out there in the world happens because we're not on our guard. And you can't be on your guard when your mind is so occupied with something that you can't even focus. You're just kind of in the zone, and the things that you're doing them more out of routine than actually performing them. So, I like to tell people like, hey, if you know that, your mind is getting a little crowded in there, you need to just calm down, let it unleash itself, practice some of the coping mechanisms that you were taught, and then go out, because you don't want to go out with a full head of stuff. It's just, you just cannot be well alert. The other thing to remember is that it's summertime. This is the best time for those of us that have depression in the fall and the winter time to get out, get your vitamin D, get out so that you can get some of that natural sunlight so that you don't be depressed. Because there's some people who have seasonal affective disorder. And if you have seasonal affective disorder, you can't be shut in the house. You just can't. You've been in the house all winter crying and doing all kind of things that tells us that you're depressed. Now is your time to shine. Now is your time to go out there and get that sun and make sure that you're absorbing it and you're becoming a part of not only just your community, but just get out there, drive around, take a walk around your neighborhood, and I'm probably the biggest person, or shouldn't be the biggest person to promote this, because I myself need to do that. I need to do more exercise. I need to get out to my community. I live in a very nice community, and I need to get out there and meet my other neighbors. There's nothing wrong with that. They say, or they used to say, that it takes a village to raise children, except we don't have no villages right now. We all keep our kids to ourselves, locked up in the house. We don't want them to go outside and play. And that's because we don't know our neighbors. Right. And a lot of things do happen at the neighbor's house. But for one, go and meet these people. Go and test these people out. Go and see if their personalities resonate with you as being good enough to even be a part of your life before you send your kids out the door to go play with their kids. Because let's remember that kids influence other kids, adults influence adults, and adults influence children. I don't just let my daughter just go out and play with anyone. I mean, that would be foolish of me. She'll come back doing all kind of weird stuff. And and I think that people forget that. They just know it's summertime and they're like, you need to go outside. And it's like, wait a minute, so do you. Yeah. So that's what I have to say about it. Is just get out more and make sure that you're alert while you're out there.
Definitely. Those are definitely things that I will keep in mind, especially when it comes to the alertness, because my neighborhood is good too. I get out and I take walks, but yeah, I probably have a little bit of, I'm not, what am I trying to say? I don't take weapons, but I'll take a little something like spray or something just in case, because I like to go on runs, and I'll be in the woods, and let's just keep it at that. But I really do agree when it comes to getting out, being in the sunlight more, meeting your neighbors, understand that our village, quote unquote, has changed a lot. And it's something that I think it's important to really know who's around you, so that your children will be safe, so that you'll be safe, and so that you'll really be that much more aware of your surroundings. It's very, very, very important.
Absolutely.
Very important. So thank you so much for your time today. Please let us know where we can reach you on social media.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on Instagram, and basically Instagram and Facebook have the same name. Align Cognition is ALIGE. Look, I can't spell it. ALIGNED, and then Cognition, COGNITION. One word, both for Facebook and Instagram. My Twitter account I don't really use, so I'm not really going to mention that, but it is look, I don't even remember what the Twitter handle is. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. But you can go to either one of the Facebook or the Instagram websites, and you can see my office information as well as the information for my book. Eventually, the information for the coloring book will be uploaded once it's ready to go. And you can contact me, and I'm always willing to answer any questions. And like I've said before, if I can't help you, I will help you find someone. I've helped people from other states find providers in the states that they live in, right here on Instagram or on
wow, that's great.
Or on Facebook. I've helped other people find providers. Like, that's just the type of person I am. I don't, do I care about the money that people pay me? Sure. But most importantly, I care about helping our community. And so if anybody has any questions, or if you want me to discuss a certain topic that you feel, resonates with you and I haven't discussed before, just let me know. That's pretty much my message. Let me know and I will make sure that we get educated about it.
I definitely will. Thank you so much for your time today. As a mental health advocate, I plan to have more in-depth discussions about specific mental health issues. One of those issues that's very, very close to me is maternal mortality and maternal health after pregnancy. So that's something that's very, very close to my heart. So I'll be getting in touch with you at a later date so that we can maybe plan some in-depth discussions and our workshops just to kind of see how we can help this specific community. It's something that's very close to my heart, and people have been reaching out to me just because I share a lot of messages on these type of things. So they automatically think I'm an expert and I can only speak to my experience and then lean on people like you in my community who are actually doing this, as a professional on a day-to-day basis. So thank you so much for extending your knowledge to us today and for agreeing to kind of have more conversations in the future.
Oh yeah, those conversations are going to be great because reproductive psychiatry is becoming a new and very fast-paced, growing topic. It's very hot right now because we do have a lot of maternal and infant mortality, and we do need to work on that, especially in the Black community. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We will have those conversations.
And we need to talk offline more as well. Let's go, I don't know, go chill, go to the park and have our children meet up or something like that.
Absolutely.
Let's do some stuff offline too. So thank you so much, Dr. Jazz. I wish you the best and have a great rest of the week. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.